it's time for another edition of the original Roundtable with ESPN's Ian Fitzsimmons. I'm Lance Taylor for the next round. This is on Disrupt the Media. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. It is always brought to you by our friends at mybookie.ag. We've got conference championship games this weekend. You can wager on everything when you go to mybookie.ag. Put in that promo code next round. They're going to hook you up at checkout. So before we get into 4th and 31, the Gravedigger play, that one, and where you're going to be at not one, but two conference championship games. We were talking at the beginning of the next round today about algorithms. And for whatever reason, if I go to Instagram and I go to a search page, it's Vishla's and it's really bad accidents, like people on motorcycles getting thrown in the air 30 feet. I watched one of these videos and now it's nonstop. I watched a video of a dude being eaten by a shark in Egypt. And
what?
Now I get all these disaster videos. Do you get all these algorithms that follow you around?
Oh, dude. Well, one, I'm not searching for, a man or a shark, eating a man and, awful, just demonic situation.
I didn't ask for it. It was sent, and then I watched it.
Did you go look for it?
No, I did not look for it. I was fascinated. Somebody had sent it to me after I watched it. Then it went from the occasional USC song girl to a dude getting, in a third world country trying to cross the railroad track and get completely demolished.
I have several questions here. One, who's filming this and not helping somebody? That's number one for me. Number two, how many of you watched? Because I have a weak stomach, as you know, man. We've known each other 30 plus years.
Yeah, most of them are like this, though. They're quick. It is the guy on the motorcycle trying to go across the train track and he'll just get popped. It doesn't show anything graphic. You just know he's done.
Nobody's screaming, watch out.
Oh, yeah, like the shark attack. The shark attack's bad. You hear, I think it's Unchained Melody playing. It's at a resort in Egypt. The guy's girlfriend's on the beach watching it, and somebody just happens to be filming. I don't know about you. I'm not, if it's one of my kids, I'm going in the water. If it's anybody else, I'm on the sideline.
Yeah, no, look, don't put me in that game, Coach. I hear you. Now, if I can assist in some way, I will.
Yeah, I'll put a tourniquet on you if I don't pass out.
Yeah, but telling the guy on the bike, there's a train, or you're about to get T-boned. I mean, if I can help in some form or fashion, but I'm not going into the shark's house, a.k.a. water, to save a stranger.
Look, now, I know
if the stranger makes it out of the water and I got a belt on, I'm helping. I'm going to the hospital. I'll donate blood, right? But I ain't going into the shark's house to save a stranger.
Yeah, two I saw this week. This dude was taunting an alligator on the side of the highway. Like he pulled over. He legitimately pulled over on the side of the highway. The alligator's out there. It's about a 6-footer, big enough. And his buddy's filming it. And so he's doing, the zigging and the zagging with it. And finally, the damn gator grabs his leg and will not let go. And the guy's, he's screaming like a little girl.
He deserved it.
He does. Sorry. He deserved it.
If that sounds harsh, sorry. But, I mean, that's you're going to go and antagonize a wild animal that can eat you. That's on you, Bubba. That's action. You started it. Reaction. Gator finished it. End of conversation.
Hey, from the old school Roundtable days, and this is the original Roundtable with ESPN's Ian Fitzsimmons. I know you got a soft spot in your heart. After we had on your buddy Takeo Spikes, he told us one of his favorite meals was the raccoon. You ate a raccoon in the bet you lost with me. Well, one of the videos I saw this week, it was crazy. There is a raccoon.
I taste it right now. I hate you for bringing that up. The iron. You were brave, though, man. You actually took a bite. And
I did.
I respect the heck out of that because
it was that metallic slime taste.
Iron. Oh my God! How Takeo Spikes, folks. If you missed that, I mean, we used to have him on after that. Like every holiday. I mean, almost. Takeo, his mom, and remember, this dude's got millions. Still for Easter, will barbecue a raccoon. That is their traditional Easter meal every single year, and just by you bringing it up, I can taste it. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'll get to the story. And Jess Bourgeois, he's got a restaurant in New Orleans now. He was the guy at Casino Superior. He put it together jambalaya style. I think the mistake you made was you should have just gotten it fried, like char fried.
I didn't have a choice.
Well, I just remember him saying, "Look, I got most of the oil glands out, but there could still be some in there." And if you bought that up like with the freshen up gum, if you were to bite into that.
Oh, dude, stop, man.
So this video, we showed it today.
Oh, there
It's
wasn't
like
enough on the planet to get that taste out of my mouth. Go ahead.
over
Go.
the Thanksgiving weekend, this group of guys and girls are in a truck. You can't see them; you can just hear them talking. But there is a raccoon on the hood of the truck, and they're driving, and they're all laughing, and they're like, "What is he doing?" And the next thing you know, the raccoon just basically commits suicide. It runs, it jumps out with his hands up when they're going like 50, and they just keep going. And there's kind of a giggle and kind of a disbelief, but it's one of the more amazing videos I've seen.
How long did the raccoon actually stay on the hood going 50 miles an hour?
I like 10 seconds. Like I would have pulled over and let the little fella like get off. They kept going and talking about it, and he finally just jumped.
Look, man, look, it's 8 seconds if you're on a bull. 10 seconds for a raccoon on a moving truck. That's pretty impressive.
Oh, speaking of the bull, there was one the other day. Have you seen the rodeo clowns play poker?
No.
Well, yeah, so they normally sit at the table, and the bull will come, and like the last one sitting wins, the last one to get up. Well, this case, I don't know if they brought people out of the stands or what, but there were 3 dudes and a girl, and they were standing there, and they let the bull out, and the bull goes straight for the girl. All the dudes take off. She doesn't move, and she's got to be dead. It hits her so hard, she is completely out cold. A shoe flies up. There's some good stuff out there. It gets a little, as you said, demonic, a little morbid.
It sounds like you become addicted to these damn algorithm videos that you're getting.
They send them to me.
Getting lane frosted, right? And gored and a shoe pops up. What is wrong with you?
Yeah. And the last one I'll tell you about, this dude on a motorcycle.
I want to hear it.
But he's flying, and it's like, okay, I'm going to go 130 and try to defy logic. And it's in the rain too. And he gets a little too low and he loses it, hits the side. And I'm not kidding you, the street light, he goes above the street light.
Is he with us?
He landed on his feet. Yeah, of course he's not with us. I mean, it didn't tell me the aftermath, but I'm just assuming that he's blowing in the wind. He's 30 feet in the air after going 130 on the motorcycle.
He landed in a pool, man. I have no idea.
I don't think
an alligator.
I don't think you land and roll in that situation and survive.
Man, by the way, you bring up rodeo clowns, right? Do you remember the story I told you about the late great Mike Leach? How in my last conversation with him, we end up somehow going down and matriculating down this winding road of mascots and underused mascots. And then we get to somehow bison, which leads us to bull riders and then barrel racers. And then he gets on this thing going, and that Mike Leach voice, rodeo clowns are the best athletes in the world. I'm like, what? And he starts talking about, find me an NBA player or any professional athlete that can avoid a 3,000-pound rage of an animal and want that animal to come at them, and their only sanctuary is to dive into a barrel. That person is an athlete.
Yeah, I would agree. I do think defensive backs in NBA would be the best at eluding the bull outside of the rodeo clown. That is an art, though. I will give them that.
Yeah, can you imagine trying to see Shaq dive into a barrel? Ain't happening.
Yeah, not going to work out. It's the original Roundtable with Ian Fitzsimmons from ESPN. It's on Disrupt the Media. Like, subscribe, give us that thumbs up. It is brought to you by our friends at Manscaped. Great stocking stuffers this time of the year. Holidays running right around the corner. Go to manscaped.com, put in that promo code OGRT. They're going to hook you up at checkout. Before we get into your 2 locations this weekend, it is conference championship week here. Alabama. I mean, they get down first and goal at the 7. You think they're going to win the game easily. Bad snap on second down. Then Jalen Milroe, obviously the penalty on third down. They've got a 4th and 31. Were you able to watch the game live? I know you were on location this past weekend. I know you were up in, Florida State, Florida?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you probably got to see it, right?
So, yeah, Jonathan Wiley, who's just a great guy and one of the lead producers, organizers for College Game Day, and he travels with Herb Street Fowler and Holly Rowe. So he has a TV set up that travels and walks the sidelines with them. So I'm just standing there with Wiley and Holly Rowe while that damn thing hits, and it's I'm sitting there going, I think Holly walked away to go talk to a coach, actually doing her job. I got caught up in the moment, right? I'm like,
Don't blame you.
why are we even watching this? And I could not believe what I saw. I still can't. Heck, I was talking to Texas linebacker Jalen Ford yesterday, and LT, he's talking about it. This organically came up in conversation. 4th and 31, crazy things happen in football, but man, that one was one that even he is an All-American linebacker, right? I mean, we're playing in the Big 12 title game, and we're talking about the Iron Bowl. I mean, it was, I still, all these days later, I still cannot compute how you only rush 2 and how you make that throw. And it's single man up coverage, back left corner of the end zone. I mean, it's beyond remarkable. And I couldn't be happier for Jalen Milroe, and I couldn't feel worse for Auburn and Hugh Freeze. I mean, seriously, it was like this range of emotions like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened, because Milroe is such a great young man. And then on the other side, after it's over, I'm like, oh my God, you can't believe it happened there at Jordan-Hare. 10 years, right? I mean, 10 years to the ante. There's some voodoo, there's some serious voodoo, man.
I remember going over to watch my Dodgers play Atlanta at Turner Field and watching Andrew Jones long toss and just throwing seeds and watching that. And somebody estimated the throw was 54 yards. It's not a traditional Hail Mary. He's planted. He's getting different reads, and then he sees Isaiah Bond one-on-one. But that was a complete missile. And I don't know if it was 54 yards or not, but you just don't see throws like that.
No, man. I mean, he's come so far. I mean, the evolution of Jalen Milroe is one of the best stories going right now, not just in college football, but in all collegiate athletics. The dude is, I mean, go back to the Texas game and getting benched and then being supportive of his teammates, which was also a test. And then since then, he's just ascending every single week. And that throw right there, that will never be forgotten. That's the kick six. That's the miracle of Jordan-Hare. I mean, that's 4th and 31. Hell, they won up 2nd and 26. I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah. And they call the play Grave Digger, which we've got T-shirts, nextroundstore.com. You can check it out.
Dude, I wore your light blue, that summer type hoodie.
Yeah, the rash guard hoodie.
I had a lot of people talking about, hey, man, where can I get one of those? So send me some more gear, and I guess what? I'll wear new stuff on the road.
We can do that. Okay, so this is going to kind of transition into where you will be Friday night. But you're talking about great stories. Jalen Daniels leaves the Pac-12 and Herm Edwards in Arizona State. He goes to LSU. Initially, I didn't even think he would start at LSU. Bo Nix leaves and goes to Oregon, which is like the furthest place he could get from the Plains. Both of those guys now are going to be your Heisman finalist.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what story is better. I don't know who's going to win this. A lot of people think it will come down to the game you've got Friday night in the Pac-12 championship. And if they avenge their loss against Washington and he plays well, it's lasting image. He probably wins. He's a slight favorite right now. I believe Jaden Daniels is the best player in college football, so we'll see how it shakes out. But what is the better story right now? What Bo Nix has been able to accomplish or Jaden Daniels?
That's 1A, 1B. It really is. I mean, I remember talking to Herm Edwards after when I had LSU week 1 against Florida State, his first year there. And it's like, well, he makes the unannounced play, so remarkably well, but, he's got to learn to put more touch on the ball and this and that. I mean, he was far from a finely tuned quarterback. And then Brian Kelly does something brilliant. That is, all right, our playbook is this big, right? Well, you do this much really well with it. So we're just going to go to this. And then every single week, they just started to gradually give him more. And here he is. To me, he's your Heisman Trophy winner. And I don't want to hear about the 3 losses. RG3 and Baylor, 3 losses. Lamar Jackson, Louisville, 3 losses. LSU, Jaden Daniels, 3 losses. Heisman. That, to me, he is the best player and the most dynamic player in college football right now. Bo Nix will be there. Michael Penix Jr. will be there. Marvin Harrison Jr. should probably be there. Ollie Gordon was, trending to get that invite to New York until Central Florida. Oklahoma State's outstanding running back. But right now, I think Jaden Daniels is the best player in college football. And you're right. He and Bo Nix, I mean, it's 1A, 1B. Whichever Hollywood story you want to talk about is the best, I'm not going to argue it.
Okay, so a lot of people believe the Pac-12 is a play-in on Friday night. We had our first, and I heard Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt talking about this Saturday. This is the first playoff game of 2023. It was. This is probably the second. I do think there is a path if Oregon wins that they don't get in, and we can get to that in a second. But if Washington wins and they go 13-0 and they beat Oregon twice, say what you want about resume and close games, Washington at 13-0 as a Pac-12 champion deserves to be in.
Okay, but it's not about deserving. It's about best.
Okay, well, if it's
ball. So
yeah, but if it's the best teams, I already know 3 of the best teams. That is Georgia, that is Alabama, that is Michigan.
Yep, I agree. So you're playing for one spot, and this is the committee almost got helped out, and they didn't, and it was close. And if I'm on that committee on going back to Saturday, Lance, I was drinking my face off and then finding myself in a fetal position in the corner of my bedroom, right? Because Washington State almost helped you. Auburn almost helped you. Florida almost helped you, but didn't. So here we are, championship weekend with 8 teams still alive for the college football playoff. 8.
Yeah, I'll say 7. I don't think Ohio State is.
Okay.
I mean,
it would go 7. That's fine. Yeah. All right. If you want to knock it down to 7, sure. I mean, good luck, right? Think about it. Here's their worst scenario, and I'm curious, in my opinion, and to see if you agree with me. Alabama beats Georgia. Texas wins the Big 12. Oh, shit. What do you do?
And Florida State. You want to put them in there. Because if Florida State loses, you can find wiggle room to put both in. Okay, I believe Texas – I think Alabama would beat them by double digits right now, but Texas beat them head-to-head. So I can't put Alabama in front of Texas. I can't do it. I know Michigan's going to be there.
Yep.
So I've got – this is the way it would shake out for me. Sorry, Oregon or Washington. Sorry, Florida State. You're out. I am going Texas.
Hold on. Let me go step by step with you. So right now you have taken undefeated Washington, and they're out.
Yep.
We're going 4 best.
We're going 4 best.
Straight out, right? Where everybody wins. Florida State wins. Washington wins. Texas wins. Bama beats Georgia. That's the biggest one for the committee.
Yeah, and Miami wins. Michigan. I've got Michigan. I've got Alabama. I have got Texas, and I've got Georgia. I cannot – if Georgia was to lose by double digits, you can leave them out. But if a team that's won 29 consecutive games, and I know I'm not supposed to weigh that in, I can't get that out of my head. I can't get it out of my head. They've won back-to-back national championships. If they lose a tight game, they're in.
And here's the thing.
But they won't get in, right?
The committee's eyes, LT, Georgia, because they will not use – they know it's human interest, but they will not go to previous years. But just on the resume alone this year and the eyeball test, they have beaten 3 of the committee's top 25 teams.
Yep.
They beat Bama, right? I mean, obviously they're in. It's done. But if they lose a close game to a top 10 team in the committee's eyes, it comes down to a field goal, right? I'm with you. How do you leave them out? And my co-host on ESPN Radio, Amber Wilson, she brought up, Florida State undefeated. How do you leave them out? I said, let me ask you a simple question. Georgia plays Florida State. If Bama beats Georgia, Georgia and Florida State match up next week on a football field, who do you think's a better team?
Well, I tell you what, this Georgia, if Florida State is first round game, Georgia is going to be a 16, 17 point favorite.
Dude, Alabama squares off against Florida State, right?
They're going to be a double digit favorite.
Hey, Texas plays Florida State.
Yeah, probably double digits, close to it.
Oregon.
Yeah, close
Washington.
to
it. And as much as I respect what Mike Norvell has done with no Jordan Travis, and that has to factor in, even though Boo Corrigan said
I agree. I said this earlier, and I don't know if you agree. The best break Alabama has gotten to this point is, unfortunately, sadly, Jordan Travis going down.
Phenomenal young man. Dude, take him home to both your daughters. You know what I mean? That kind of guy. He is just a remarkable leader and a quality person and a hell of a player. It's a different football team. So, it's not about, and I can't drill that into people's heads enough, Lance. It's not about deserving. It's about best. And for once, you and I actually agree on something here. And that is, look, man, if Bama beats Georgia and Texas wins, 3 spots are locked up. Good luck trying to fill that 4th. I would
look, and I do think Oregon's the better team, probably the better team when they played Washington and Seattle.
9-point
9! Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. I don't understand this number. I thought it would be like 4 or 5.
I agree.
Look, in the last 6 of the last 8 games, I think Washington's won by 1 possession. So they've struggled, but they still win. And when it counts, Michael Penix makes those plays as he did against Oregon. And you just wonder with this veteran team, and you've covered Washington,
Twice.
you know, how much they play with a chip on their shoulder. Like, how in the hell are we undefeated? We've already beaten this team, and we're almost a double-digit underdog.
Let me tell you, Lance, you drilled it. And Oregon, since that Washington lost, they've been playing like crazed dogs, man. But Rome Odunze, hey, look, had him out in Corvallis. Great game, 22-20 in a monsoon. And I asked Odunze, their All-American wide receiver and a Bolitnikov finalist, I said, your message to the committee right now is what? He just goes, turn on the damn tape. This
Fair
guy,
enough.
I mean, it's a great answer. Just go watch the film. And look, and they're getting better on the defensive side of the ball, week in, week out. And Kalen DeBoer, dude, the man does not lose in November as a head coach. His record in November is 30-1 against top 25 teams against Washington. He's undefeated in the month of November. I mean,
so is Friday's the first, though? It's not going to be a November game.
Semantics. I like that. And I asked him, what is it about later in the year where your team just really starts to click? He goes, any football team, if you're worth your grain, just worth your weight in anything as a coach, you should be playing your best football at the end of the season. It's a simple explanation. And it really is when you think about it. So
I agree, but Washington is not playing their best football right now. I don't think
they're finding ways to win.
They are, and I think up until Texas Tech, Texas wasn't playing their best football. Florida State's not playing their best football. You know, teams like Georgia, Alabama, sans the Auburn game, but we've seen so many games in Jordan-Hare. You know how that goes. Oregon's playing their best football. There are teams playing their best right now, but there are some teams that aren't playing their best football.
Hey, so crazier line to you when it popped out, because we were leaving the swamp and we kind of we missed the police escape, so we're sitting there for 40 minutes in traffic, and I'll go, well, let's just check and see what the numbers are, and our game's coming up. When I saw Oregon by 9, I damn near had a coronary. I couldn't believe that one. And then this is maybe my favorite number I've ever seen, and I want to get your reaction to this. Michigan is a 22-point favorite with the over-under, the total at 35.5.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen something like that in your life?
No, because what that takes at that point is Michigan
30-0.
Or 28-3. Yeah, it's tough to get the favorite and the under in that situation. I don't know where you list that game because Iowa has scored more than 20 points once in the last 2 months. Yeah.
A 22-point favorite in a conference championship game.
Well, I'm glad you don't necessarily have that game because I don't think anybody's looking forward to the Big Ten championship game. You do have the ACC championship game, and I know it lost a little luster with Kentucky beating Louisville this past weekend because Louisville, say what you want, they had an outside shot. It would have taken a million miracles for them. But if they would have gone in with one loss and beaten Florida State, they at least have an argument as a 12-1 ACC champion. Now that's kind of off the table. They're only 2.5-point underdogs because obviously no Jordan Travis.
Who do you lean there? I know you'll save the pick for Lance's lock, but do you have a lean?
Yeah, I lean Louisville. I had Florida State this past week, and it took a lot to get there, and they ended up covering. They were down 12-0 to Florida. They're just not whole. I mean, that's just a simple way to put it. I think the defense is still really solid. Norvell's done a great job with that team, but without Jordan Travis, they're just not nearly as good.
Yeah, and Tate Rodemaker obviously got rocked at the end of that game also. And he needs to eat a cheeseburger. But the players love him. I mean, he's been in the system forever. Hell, their offensive coordinator told us in our coaches' meetings, Lance, that look, Rodemaker's been here longer than I have. So, I mean, again, the players love him. He could have transferred. He stuck, stayed, competed, and just loves Florida State. But I'll tell you this. If he were to go down, watching their true freshman, I think his name is Glenn Barak. Not a big kid. He's got a solid frame, but I'm talking like height-wise. He's around 6 feet, 6'1". But just watching him warm up when he had to come in, LT, this dude's got like a steely-eyed stare, looking at Keon Coleman going, back up 5. I'm ready. Just back up, back up. I'm like, this guy's a true freshman in a one-score game at the Swamp, right? Rivalry. And he's telling Coleman, I feel good. Back up 10. Let's go, man. Let's go. I got this. I'm going, LT, you don't see that very often. So just file that away for next year, right? Or even if something hopefully doesn't, right, to Rodemaker, because he has a chance to try and beat Carterell Jones at Ohio State. If they win impressively, to your point, and Georgia beats Bama and the Pokes beat the Longhorns, Florida State's going to be right there. And he has a shot to do what Jones did at Ohio State. That's win a rivalry game, go win a conference championship, and see if you can find your way into the playoff.
I think you and I talked about this, and we're about to wrap up here on the original Roundtable with ESPN GM Fitzsimmons. I'm Lance Taylor from the Next Round. Disrupt the Media. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. It is always brought to you by mybookie.ag. Put in that promo code OGRT, and you're going to get a nice deposit there at checkout. That is mybookie.ag. So we talked about this earlier, and chaos, and we never got it. And yeah, we still got an opportunity this weekend. I just don't see it because it would take Oklahoma State beating Texas. It would take Iowa winning that game, Alabama winning their game. There are some I can see the underdog win these games, but I just can't see Oklahoma State or Iowa winning their games.
Yeah, I agree. But we to your point, we still may see a little chaos, but I'm in awe that we haven't yet. This is the latest we've ever gone, as we talked about. This many teams legitimately still alive. But we didn't even get to Elko and Jeff Levy, man. Quick thought on it. I've told you for years, Aggies are cultish. Did you see the presser?
Yeah. Oof.
That whole sway thing and all the whoops and the hand signals.
Ross Bjork was so uncomfortable at the end. Elko acted like he knew the what the words to saw the Longhorns off of.
If Aggie knew that dude was from New Jersey, does he get hired?
No, probably not. What did you think, though, on the Elko hire?
I like it a lot. I mean, I told you Kingsbury would have been my second choice behind Elko. And here's another thing. You hire Mark Stoops. It's got to be uncomfortable as hell to go back to Lexington, right?
But how far along was he in that? I would rather, if I'm an A&M fan, I think Stoops is a really good coach.
I love him. I love him.
But I would rather have Elko right now.
But I'll tell you this. So, go down the list of guys who we're looking at. Lance Leipold, check. With that, we'll take him. We'll take Chris Kleiman from Kansas State. We want Mike Elko from Duke. But we don't want Mark Stoops, who's the winningest coach in the history of Kentucky football, who has had multiple 10-win seasons at Kentucky, who goes to bowl games. That makes no sense, and that goes right here.
I'll tell you what hurt him, in my opinion, was how bad the offense has been.
Could be. Yeah. But I know this: the man can coach, and Ross Bjork and the big money boosters. When you start listening to fans on social media, you end up like a certain athletic director at Tennessee when he listened to everybody. And Greg Schiano would have been a home run in Knoxville. It took him 2 more coaches to finally find somebody. Mark Stoops, I think, would have with that war chest, coach. I think he would have been great. I think Mike Elko is going to be great, but I think that they need him. Remember, Aggie, you ain't Texas, because Texas is more SEC ready going into year 1 than you are, and you've been there over a decade.
Okay, so Vegas is not your scene, so to speak. And look, there's a lot of really. You do love it.
Yeah, but only for like 2 days. I can't.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can't go more than 2 days either. But the food. Look, it's some of the best food in the world, just depending on where you go. But everything is trendy. So where are you going to eat Thursday night?
This is where I turn the reins over of where we feast to Mark Kestisher, our play-by-play guy. He is in Vegas for like a month every summer for NBA Summer League. Yep. So he knows. He and PJ Carlissimo. We're probably going Italian on Thursday night. PJ has that town wired, which means Kesty now has it wired. So that's where you just get in the car and go. And because I know it's going to be damn good, because the guy literally lives in Vegas for a month every single summer.
Yeah. So what is your schedule? So you go to Vegas Thursday night, you do the game Friday. Do you catch a red eye Friday night?
Yeah, red eye to Charlotte, land around 7, straight to the hotel, grab about a 4-hour nap. My brother Kevin is going to be my runner for this game, so I get to see him, which is awesome. So he's going to drive up from Asheville, call that game on Saturday night late, and then go over to Devin's house, see my niece and nephew and my sister-in-law. They're going to get their asses kicked in Tampa. And by the way, anybody need a special teams coordinator? I got one for you, because they're hurting in Carolina right now. Obviously, we all know.
Yeah. I don't know what David Tepper's doing. I think Frank Wright can coach. It's not a great roster. You got to give it a little bit of time, but it's another story, another day.
Man.
Hey, great stuff, man. Look, enjoy the travels. Be safe. Vegas to Charlotte. We'll talk to you next week here on the Original Roundtable.
And I mean, do not send me any of those horror flicks that you're watching. People getting eaten by sharks in Egypt and dudes getting clipped by trains on bicycles. No, thank you. I don't need it.
Tiger shark, man. Swim at your own risk. That is Ian Fitzsimmons from ESPN. This is the Original Roundtable. Disrupt the media. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Always brought to you by our friends at lanceslog.com. Jump on board for the winners. Coming off a guaranteed weekend where we won for you. Go to lanceslog.com for more information.